morning. This is the Beaver Show. Morning. This is the Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids. A little bit of soft grooves to help ease into the show. Welcome to the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. I'm your
Sounds
host.
like my jazz show.
I've been listening. I am your host, the Eager Beaver pronouns he, you. Okay, yes, we have as we're starting off the day really well. We have someone that we need to maybe handle. But we'll see. We'll see. I am your host, the Eagle Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, live from Alberta. A big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Before we go any further today, and it's going to be a big show, Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
Today it's pretty good. Yesterday was off. But today it's good. Yesterday I wasn't, I don't know, it had an anxious feeling all day yesterday. And I'm good today, so I'm just a little tired because, I've been up since 4:30, so.
All right. Cool. Hey, how was the game, by the way?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we really enjoyed ourselves. Yeah, we had a great time. And Ottawa, of course, pulled off a miraculous come-from-behind win with no time left on the clock, so
yeah,
it was good.
So Devin was posting, says, and the Elks find yet another new way to lose.
Oh, yeah.
Something about they kicked something out of bounds with like a couple of seconds left, and they gave Ottawa the chance for a field goal or something.
That's exactly what took place. If you kick off and the ball goes out of bounds on the kick, the ball automatically is placed on the 50. And that gave Ottawa, there was enough time left on the clock for them to get one more play to advance the ball down the field to get into field goal range to win it, which is what took place.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And the Elks fired their coach afterwards. Ooh.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, actually, because I guess he's under a pretty heavy-duty contract, and the rumor is that they kept him because they couldn't afford to dump him, but I guess they haven't won in a long time, so they haven't won yet this year to begin with. So,
geez, so that's two coaches, the U.S. men's soccer team coach and now the coach of the Elks, just gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Little bit of an update, kids and Cubs. 0-5 start to the season. There's not that many games. There's like 14 or something.
18.
18, yeah. 18. Yeah. Probably a good idea then to pull the ripcord, as I say. All right. Wildfire update. Fortunately, or natural disaster update. Fortunately, not too many more developments with regard to what is happening with the remnants of Hurricane Beryl out in Nova Scotia. I think they're still trying to figure some stuff out, and considering that there is a premier's meeting that is starting, and it's also in Nova Scotia, and Premier Tim Houston is hosting. Might be a lot going on all at once to get a little more information the very next day or something, but keeping our ear out to listen for that, because there will most certainly be something. Out in Labrador City, it seems that Premier Andrew Furey has announced that there's $1,000 available to every household. I'm not sure what the application process is yet, but in terms of emergency funds, that will be made available. According to the news, over the course of the weekend, the massive fire that threatened Labrador City was continuing to blaze, but the weather had been wet a little bit, so that kind of helped. The blaze remained active and unpredictable. So what happened is originally the fire was burning, and then it was sort of dying down, and it kind of got a second wind. And when it got a second wind, it grew more than 16-fold within the space of one day. So that's where everything sort of came suddenly. It was when yesterday I mentioned, on yesterday's show, when I mentioned it was moving at a pace of 50 meters an hour or something like that. It had spread 21 kilometers in 4 hours. So it was moving very fast. It was very aggressive. The combination of wind, humidex, and temperature is basically what allowed the fire to move from what was a 600-hectare fairly controlled fire to over a 10,000-hectare fire, and that was by 3 days ago at that point. It also evacuation near Bloom Lake mine in Quebec City. The almost 10,000 residents of Labrador City were told to head to Happy Valley Goose Bay. We mentioned on the show that cars were traveling slower than the fire went. Some people it took them 12 hours to make what's usually a 5-hour drive. That's how backed up it was, because there was only one road out. There are 5 shelters set up in Happy Valley Goose Bay to accommodate the evacuees. The neighboring town of Wabush at that point remained on an evacuation alert. To ensure that all efforts went towards fighting the wildfire, the Newfoundland and Labrador government also issued a province fire ban. There's also one in British Columbia, and with fines up to $1,150. And if what you actually did start a fire, then the fine goes from like the $100,000 to $1 million, and possibly 1 year in jail. So they're not kidding around here with these fire bans. I'm not sure what the fines are in Newfoundland and Labrador yet. They hope that the thunderstorms that were forecast over the course of that night were to bring heavy rain, but the provincial fire duty officer at the time, George Gibbons, said, quote, "We're getting more intense thunderstorms now, and it don't seem like we're getting the amount of rain. It's calling for rain, but the rain don't turn up. That's the thing, so you're getting lightning strikes and I guess not enough rain to put the fire out, all of which means this fire may not be wrestled under control anytime soon. I don't see it happening, not in the next couple of days, to be honest. Just like I said before, this is a very hot fire and a large perimeter." We reported when we recorded Monday's show a little earlier last week that there were 11 fires in Labrador. There are now 13. The province has requested 60 additional firefighters from other jurisdictions to help them get a handle on what has already been a hot and dangerous season. Labrador City itself has declared a state of emergency, with the wildfire still burning out of control as of last night, and it's only about 4 kilometers out of town. Mayor Belinda Adams made the announcement in an online video update last night. Quote, "We are doing this to ensure safety and to seek additional support to maintain our essential services and to protect our assets. This is a very important announcement, and it's very serious. We declare the state of emergency so that we can get some extra support." So that's what they're doing. Of course, everybody is on the wait and at the ready to provide the support that is needed as soon as what is needed is asked for. Our federal government seems to be pretty good when it comes to that. So yeah, that's the those are the updates. I don't have any further updates about what's going on in BC or in Alberta, because we know that in BC there was a fire that was threatening a part that's the particularly old forest with 1,000-year-old trees and stuff of the like. So I've had no further updates from that. That was in an area near Prince Albert, by a riverbank, but inside a forest. So, but that was about the last details I got on that. So, hope everybody stays safe. We're still going to have some hot weather for a while yet. So please be sure to hydrate. Don't leave any fires untended. All that good stuff. All right. Yeah. Listen, you have to have been living under a rock.
Right. I mean,
Not know what comes next.
I was sitting in a pub with Lachlan when we got the news.
Yeah. I'm not trying to not talk about Pierre and the AFM.
Yeah.
But this is kind of big. Yeah, I was just doing something at the computer, and I wasn't paying attention to news. And then for me, I noticed something. It's like the president was shot at, and I was like, saw that on Twitter. I'm going, what? And then jumped to the TV stations and then saw what was going on. I don't know if you have the now infamous clip, Mr. Grizzly.
I don't. I can see if I can find it though.
Okay, if you don't, it's probably no problem. Everybody's heard it seen it by now. Actually, kind of grateful that we had a pre-record and that we had a couple of days to go by since it happened, because there was a lot of hot takes. Let's put it that way. And not all of them,
the least.
Yeah, not all of them necessarily great. Okay. On Friday, it is, about 6 minutes after, thankfully, former President Donald Trump launched into a campaign rally speech in the town of Butler, Pennsylvania. Even though the area was supposed to be secured, there's a sniper, civilian sniper.
Well, would we call him a sniper or a shooter? Because a sniper would have
shooter, but acting like a sniper.
Yes. Yeah.
That managed to get on a roof that was about 120 to 150 meters away, so not that far, and fire, it seems, at the president in what is being described by the FBI as an assassination attempt. A little interesting for them to say that it is an assassination attempt, since they keep on saying that they have no idea yet as to anything related to motive. But I guess they're working on walks like a duck, looks like a duck, tucks like a duck until anything else is discovered. But yes, an assassination attempt on the former president of the United States, Donald Trump. Regardless of what you think of the man, regardless of what you think of the party, regardless of what you think about anything that's going down, that is not okay. It's not okay. Now, I know that it is human to have certain thoughts. Like, for example, when he was struck by COVID, a lot of people were upset that it didn't get him. I understand how it's sometimes humans have those thoughts, but they don't necessarily say the nicest things about us when we do have them. Now, of course, the caveat is that he's a raging lunatic, asshole, racist, bigot. Right? Everybody says you need to tone down the rhetoric. Yes, you do need to tone down the rhetoric, but you also need to call the thing a thing. Mm-hmm. And this guy's a thing. None of this changes that.
No.
But none of that justifies this either. None of that justifies that. So, things that we eventually, the identity of the shooter was revealed. We, as we always do, are not going to mention his name. Saw a picture. From Central Casting. Still saying terms. All right. So he's a 20-year-old white male. He lived in the vicinity of the Raleigh, Pennsylvania, about 40 minutes away. His neighborhood's a more affluent one. He was an honors student. He lived with his parents. Those are facts.
Mm-hmm.
Not putting any judgment on it one way or another. Those are just facts. The FBI has taken over the case. The Wall Street Journal has reported they found explosive material in his car. It was the car that he drove to the Trump rally. Maybe it's not his or registered in his name, but there were explosives found in the car. He used an AR-15 style rifle, the seeming weapon of choice.
Mm-hmm.
He used the AR-15 rifle to fire about 8 rounds into the rally from a rooftop located about 150 meters or 100 away. There were 2 rounds of popping sounds as described by people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there was a first round, and then there was a second round. The second round, we assume, are the ones that were used to take the shooter down, going in his direction. The rifle was registered to the shooter's father, which could probably indicate that it was not properly stored. And when we talk about better gun control legislation, we always have to remember that the opposition always frames it as punishing law-abiding gun owners, and the response to that is that, yes, we understand that. We're not going after law-abiding gun owners. We're going by people who are law-abiding until they're not.
Until they're not. And that's, usually the case, until they're not.
Right? Like I said, law-abiding until they're not doesn't necessarily have to mean you went out and shot someone. It just means that you decide to get sloppy with your weapon.
Mishandling it, not
Or
storing it properly, etc.
Or giving your children access to it, even if they are 20-year-olds.
Yeah, 22, I thought he was.
It says 20 here, from what we could tell. Now, took a while, not necessarily took a while for this news to trickle out, but for this news to somewhat become a little more prominent. The bullets that were shot, it is assumed, grazed the former president's ear. It may have ricocheted off something that broke something, and then that went up. But the reports that we seem to have is that the bullet grazed the president, Mr. Trump's ear. But there are 2 people who are dead.
Yeah, somebody
not
in the
just
crowd.
one. Yes, because there were people standing behind Mr. Trump. So when the person shot, whatever didn't hit the intended target, well, it went somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the conspiracy theories start flying around, there is some plausibility there, but because of the fact that how did a shooter get that close? How was that rooftop covered?
We'll get into that.
But are they so dastardly that they wouldn't care if somebody got sacrificed in the process?
Yes.
That's where the conspiracy theory part goes a little bit into real conspiracy theory territory.
Yes. And just like the other way around, some people go, well, would these people like actually accept that someone be sacrificed for the cause? Yes. As well. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
Will someone shooting not care enough about the collateral damage to go ahead and do it anyway? Yes. Will the people being shot at not care enough about other people around them maybe get shot in order to push a narrative? Yes. It's not pretty, but it's real. It's human nature. There's a big prize at stake. Yes. It may be shocking, but you should not be surprised. Yes, people will do these types of things. So 2 people are dead. So the gunman was shot by Secret Service, and there are 2 people who are critically injured. President Biden has spoke twice since the shooting, one condemning political violence and violent rhetoric and encouraging everyone to wait for facts from the investigation before prescribing a motive, because that started very early. We also know that sometimes local police are assigned by the Secret Service to secure nearby buildings. We don't know how that worked before, but usually these types of things work in concentric circles from the stage around. Now, there is video of people in the crowd telling news reporters that they had actually spotted the shooter on the roof and were like pointing and said, "Hey, there's a guy on the roof." Like this, there are actually some audio clips that you can hear people saying it. Right. And they weren't apparently able to get the Secret Service's attention quick enough for that to be handled before the rally started and before everything, before shit got real, for all intents and purposes. But that does exist, and that certainly doesn't help with any conspiracy theories, or does help them fuel. But again, we'll get into that. There is a bipartisan call for an investigation in the House of Representatives. Both parties are asking for the investigation. DHS, DOJ, FBI are also investigating the incident. A reporter, Tom Winter, found out more information about the shooter, saying, now you're going to hear a lot of things that he was a registered Republican. When the news first came out, that was the only thing. And then later on, it seemed very, very important for people to add that he had also once donated to a Democrat-aligned organization, made a $15 donation. But they don't really say what it was for, and they don't really say when these things happened. Right on the news. So it seems that the money was to an organization that exists to help Democrats get elected. All right, that's the type of organization he donated to. He donated $15 to him. This group was called Act Blue, which is a progressive group. It's the shooter made this donation when he was 17. So either him or somebody with his exact name and address made a donation to Act Blue, a progressive group. Then many months later, in January 20th, 2021, he registered as a Republican. So he made the donation for people because, unfortunately, these days, when there is this type of incident, remember the time when, if it was after September 11th...
Wait a minute. Let's go back on the timeline here for a second. He registered as a Republican in 2021, correct?
2021, yes.
But he's 20 years old. That would have made him 17 at the time.
Yes. And he made his donation to Act Blue when he was 17.
But how can you can register at 17? Because you can't vote till you're 18.
I think you can register in the year before your birthday that comes in.
Okay.
Yeah, to make sure that you're ready on the day of your birthday.
That's where I was confused.
Yeah, I think you can pre-register for your birthday when you're 17. So yeah, unfortunately, we are in an age when these types of things happen. If you remember, after September 11th, whenever there was some type of shooting or incident, you had like one whole section going, "Please, please tell us they're Muslim," and then you had a whole other section of community going, "Please, please, please let it not be a Muslim."
Right.
Because we all knew what would happen. from that point on, right? Because there's a narrative when the shooter and the guy that shows up with a truckload of explosives or whatnot like this to have a friendly conversation with someone.
Sausage maker.
Yes. There's a narrative. There's an instant narrative that we all know that happens when the person is white and when the person is Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Right? While nowadays, when these things happen, there's a narrative when we suspect that the shooter is from, or the attacker is from the left, and when we suspect that it's from the right. Right? Well, somebody from the right was shot, so it had to be somebody from the left. Oh, why is always the left that resorts to violence? Oh, this Antifa this and Antifa that. And vice versa. Once again, right-wing white terrorism. The right is, they look at everybody else, but never themselves. We have these two narratives.
And they never end.
This one's a little confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So was he someone, because when we heard these two facts, but not in data, not with time and dates and who he donated to and why, for example, you could turn around and says, well, he was a never Trumper, but he made the donation to the left group before he became a registered Republican. So that narrative can't apply anymore. But that was one of the first ones going on conspiracy. He was a never Trumper like this, and he decided to get him. Then, of course, he was a guy from the left and decided to get him. Well, he once made a donation to an organization from the left, and then, I mean, it was almost one of those things that's like, oh, yeah, I was liberal once when I was young and stupid, but then I learned better. But he's a registered Republican for the last 3 years, it would seem. When other things came out, for example, another theory, one that I had maybe it was somebody from the right rather than somebody from the left, but somebody that was a little upset with all those news articles coming out saying that Donald Trump was stepping away from his stance from abortion, but that the party was moderating its stance or softening its stance. Oh, wait a minute. We need to apply the purity test. You're not as pure as we thought we were. Maybe we need to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
So there are plenty of theories and speculation possible. Well, it seems like it could be something a little more basic. So it would seem that when he was shot, he was wearing a shirt advertising a Second Amendment YouTube channel, a gun enthusiast channel. So maybe it was just, and this would be an irony, somebody who was looking for some marketing for the 2A cause.
It's always possible.
Wanted to become famous, which would be really interesting because, well, Donald Trump is kind of the master of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody who was seeking some marketing, going after someone who's known as the master of marketing, would certainly be an interesting narrative. Somebody wanted to tell a story, but don't know if that's the case, of course. Now, when we talk about the master of marketing and more fuel for conspiracy theory, well, one, yes. How did the shooter get up there? Why was it missed? Who didn't? Was this fixed?
There's a lot of questions. There's
right?
going to be a ton of questions to be asked about this and how it gets turned out is, I don't know.
Right. So the sloppiness here, because let's be honest, okay, Mr. Trump did not die. But the fact that he was even touched in any way is a huge Secret Service failure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? Now, the fact that two bystanders were critically injured and one is dead, apparently a former fire chief, but also, Donald Trump supporter, and some people have as people do when these things kind of happen, they decide, hey, let's go through his Twitter feed or social media, and found like, some of the worst things he said, because of course we can't let the body get cold before we start tearing down someone who got shot. Even though you may think that he's deplorable, he is still someone's father, husband,
still
son,
a human being,
right? So there's been a lot of delighting and rejoicing in not so great ways. But yes, after it all happened and the shots, Secret Service surrounded him, put him to the ground. There were lots of calls of, you could hear him calling, "What about my shoe? What about my shoe?" It seems that his shoes had fallen off. That's apparently, according, I think it was to Night Pike, I think, from the breakdown, that's actually not abnormal. There's something that happens in extreme such trauma situations where people sort of like jump out of their shoes or they sort of line. But what was interesting, and I hope I can find it, is most of the clips of the incident, clips from the front, there were images that were captured from the back. And Mr. Grizzly, I have this for you. I'm going to send it to you. He said, my shoe. Some people are making fun of the fact that when you look at the clip from the back, you see that Mr. Trump is wearing some type of lifts in his shoe, because you see the lifts go flying.
Yeah, I heard that report.
As curious as that may be, and as individually funny as that isolated thing might be, there's a time. A little classless. I mean, let me put it this way. Petty me loves it. But, again, maybe a couple of days, right? But as you can see there, another thing that's saying from because you got the two conspiracies, right? It was staged, or it was a setup. Somebody forgot to do something security-wise, so it's a setup, or it was staged. And the thing that made people think it was staged...
I'll just turn that down a bit, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. It's a little up. The thing that made people think it was staged is one of these things. Well, first of all, when something hit, Mr. Trump put his hand to his ear. Some people are suggesting that was a packet, because of the way the other pictures you see what the splatter sort of looks like, right? Some people are wondering, when we're looking from the front, they were going like, what's he saying? My shoe, my shoe, my shoe. Because when he said my shoe, well, everybody's head goes down, because they were wondering, how did Secret Service leave him with his head up, exposed all that time? Because if everybody's seen the infamous photo now, right? He had time to put his fist up a couple times and say, fight, fight, fight. So after the shock, right, he had the presence of mind to say, hey, wait a minute, there's a marketing moment here.
Yeah.
My shoe, my shoe, my shoe. Everybody goes down, puts his hand on somebody, puts his hands up, gets his shot, and then, right? But his shoes, you will see here, were found relatively quickly. So there's a lot of time where the Secret Service is allowing him to stand with his head up.
And
like an inordinate amount of time. Now, I'm not an expert in none of this, but this just seems weird to me. Because I would assume that everybody jumps on top of the president and smothers and covers the body, right? Doesn't leave him up.
That's usually what would take place, yes. So why it happened like this, I don't know.
So from behind, we see how much time there actually is.
Yeah. Okay, well, here.
So this doesn't help.
I'll roll the clip.
Now,
so
here's the other thing. And,
that was a long time.
Yeah. Now there's here at Mr. Pivzer, I believe in the chat, new to us. I haven't seen them before today. It's just this was all after the shooter was confirmed down. Yes. And again, if you think of that, there are two series of shots: the shots that came Mr. Trump's way, and then the shot that went the shooter's way. After the second round of shots, after there were no more shots for a while, you could probably put two and two together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, the thing is, when you're talking about conspiracy theories, some people are thinking, well, gee, if you were shot at in that way, like this, wouldn't you be in so much shock that you wouldn't be able, you'd be like spinning and reeling and not be able to think of in that moment of, hey, I can Josh Hawley this.
Yeah, that's where it gets the weird part, right? I mean,
So there is
this
plenty
is,
of material for conspiracy theories either
yeah,
way
yes, yeah. That's the thing. So
to fuel the left
say
or the right.
to say whether this was staged or not is really, I mean, it's a stretch. Actually, PNC Bio, he's not 6'3". He likes to tell everybody that he is, but he isn't. It might be the lifts that get him that tall. He's not that tall. He's shorter than the prime minister when you see them standing side by side, and the prime minister is 6'2".
Yeah. So yeah, we that's about all we know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's a lot of other people trying to fill in narratives like this, but that's what we know. Those are the facts, the details. No judgment, no opinion. Why not? These types of conspiracies, these types happen. This is what he was wearing. This is. There is some chat on the web that Trump was at the golf course the next day because he did go to Bedminster, this place in New Jersey. It is not totally confirmed that that's the case. It seems that, and this was a Republican actually putting this out, and showing pictures of Trump in a golf cart and whatnot going around, and with something saying that, you know, he sunk a great putt, and then turned around and looked around at people and go and says, well, when I shoot, I don't miss. Ha 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 ha. Right. Do not know if that is true. It seems that later on, the person who posted that kind of confirmed that those were pictures from another day.
Okay.
So that might, so maybe somebody from the right trying to spin, right, spin this in a way that goes well for him. But it led people to be, again, the narrative yesterday said, oh my God, I can't believe he's playing golf. Because the thing is that even though he was playing golf, the families of the other people who were injured basically report that they waited all day and did not hear a thing. And that's
to be expected.
To me, that is the real story. Because you would normally expect, you can bet your bottom dollar, had roles been reversed and had it been Biden on that stage, or had it been President Obama on that stage, that with the same situations, that once they were okay, one of the first things that would be happening is a call to the families of the other people impacted, you know, arrangements for them to come to visit at the White House, or for the president to go over to their place and have some pictures and images be taken of the president providing comfort, overcoming his own rough moment in order to comfort. That's the typical selfless statesman storyline that should flow from this thing. But this is Donald Trump, so of course we're going to get the messianic one.
It's all about him.
Because when it first happened, my first thought was, oh shit, somebody handed him a martyr narrative.
Yeah.
Now,
well, and he was playing it up yesterday with a giant bandage on his ear, which is like,
it really obvious bandage, square lip there. So yeah,
it was pretty pathetic. And then, of course, our current leader of the loyal opposition had to say
Oh
that.
yeah, we will get there. We will get there.
Like, just, oh my God.
Yep, you need to read that.
So from Pierre Poilievre, I can strongest of terms the attempted murder of former President Trump today. I am relieved he is safe. My prayers are with the other innocent people harmed or killed by this heinous act. I am also happy that the suspected shooter is dead. Democracy must prevail. The suspected shooter. He's happy that someone is dead.
Yep.
Now,
Again, these might be things you think, but these are not things you say, and they're certainly not things you say if you aspire to be the leader of a G7 nation.
mhm.
So once again, it's the Rainbow Bridge thing again with this Futhermucker.
It's to be expected with Pierre Poilievre. It's who he is. He's taken the mask off completely. Media pundits are very much angry and upset about this, and justifiably so, because this is not something a statesman would say.
No.
This is not something a political leader should ever say. This is not something I want in a prime minister. But I mean, that type of behavior and the things that he's saying now is it didn't begin with Trump, but it certainly got ratcheted up with him, and this is where we are today as a result.
Yep. A statement like that should be disqualifying.
It should be, absolutely. His supporters will probably love it, though.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the press, to its credit, came out against that. Just, they don't want to go all the way. Right? This is highly disqualifying. This would be terrible. This would be an embarrassment on the world stage. This guy is not ready for prime time.
He's not.
Right? So yeah, there we go. Yeah, exactly. I can put this here, Mr. Chris. Actually, I think that this one I can show because there's no sound, so you can just put it up. But yes, to make it totally subtle.
Yeah. Come on.
What?
That's
Did something happen to my ear? Now, again, some people have making some comments again that petty me could happen, but sort of like I think Tyson did a worse job to Holyfield's ear. Come on, dude, stop milking this. But he's Trump, right? Mm-hmm. He's a massive.
Can't help himself.
He's a master marketer. He's a master marketer. So I mean, you just. I hate to say it, but he's good at what he does. Mm-hmm. If only he would use his powers for good. Not whatever he's using them for. But that's okay. Because, it's Trump. Now, you've got all the people making these statements, because this happened right before the Republican National Convention, which our friend James is
he's present. He's there right now.
Yes, yeah. To cover. So yeah,
and he's covering the Democratic as well.
Yes. So hoping that maybe he can get him on one morning and going like, "What the hell is going on down there, man?" Because are you still in one piece? Yeah. So. And he went on stage and he did his thing and he was introduced by Kristi Noem, the lady who shot her dog.
Yes, Kristi Noem, North Dakota governor.
It's like sounded like this. Donald Trump, even in that moment, Donald Trump's first instinct was to stand up and fight. No, his first instinct was to stand up and make sure he got the shot. Found his light.
Yeah.
But they're spinning that like he's a fighter, he's a warrior, he survived this, he's strong. This, God himself intervened. Also, yeah, that was one thing when Donald Trump made his first statement. Afterwards, they put on Truth Social. There was no mention of thank God for having spared him, especially since he's courting the evangelicals. So I'm guessing that he got word that they were a little upset that God didn't get his credit, and that one got edited and got right. But doesn't thank God initially. There was one statement that was written in such a way that you're thinking like, okay, you didn't write that. That was your staff. So there was some mention of the other people, but no calls to them. No visits, no reach out, no nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
There's only room for one star in Donald Trump's sky.
Well, apparently a member of the Trump family will attend the funeral.
Yes. And probably the only reason that's the case is because he was a fire chief.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for that, probably wouldn't have time for that.
Yeah. I don't know who they're going to send. Probably Eric.
Well, funny you mention Eric, because when the delegations, and here's the other proof again that it was really all about him, right? Because yesterday they officially made Donald Trump the nominee. So they're doing the state's roll call, right? So the state that was called that would put him over the edge was none other but Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And out of all the people in Florida that they could have picked to stand in front of the mic and say, and our 26 delegates, or however many, go to Donald J. Trump, was Eric. They could have picked anybody in the Florida organization whatsoever, give someone a boost, gave it to Eric. So I guess him standing in front of the mic on the day that his father was found guilty of 34 counts and saying, he was my inspiration. He fought in that cold courtroom against a compromised judge. So yeah, that was his reward, I guess, for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the roll call still continues, right? Because after you're put over the top, there's more, right? Well, Donald Trump didn't wait for that. He went out and gave a speech right there. Well, not a speech, actually. His announcement of his VP pick, right there, like this.
J.D. Vance.
Exactly. So they're sitting there and they're going, like at first, our 22 delegates go to Donald Trump. But like I said, by the end, it's like our 79 delegates go to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. So apparently he announced it in some type of social media post while it was going on, and then the buzz went all around the room, and then people started changing their discourse. He didn't even actually announce it. He announced it on social media first, not even to the people who came up there. They found out about it on social media. They all hauled ass to Milwaukee. Because this is the big announcement of the thing, other than his speech, is who the VP pick will be. And he announced it on social media. Didn't even announce it to these people there. Didn't even wait for the rest of the roll call, the rest of the states. Like, nope, I've got it now. Here's my VP. Like, let's make our press right away. Well, couldn't even wait for his own people.
J.D. Vance is a pretty terrible person, which is
yes,
no surprise why Trump picked him, because he's a pretty terrible person.
No, I thought he was going to take Doug Burgum because, again, he was like the most Mike Pence-like in terms of quiet, won't steal the limelight. J.D. Vance seemed to me to be the less likely in one sense, because there's only room for one star in Donald Trump's sky. And J.D. Vance went from a guy who had a certain set of values around the time of Hillbilly Elegy, and got Oscar nominated for that one. I guess compared Donald Trump to Hitler, and now he can't get his tongue up his colon fast enough.
Yeah,
and far enough.
They're willing to sell themselves out for what? Some power? I don't know.
Nobody changes all their values and all of their beliefs wholesale that quickly.
Well, was it Lady Grey, Lindsey Graham, who said that, if we elect Trump, we will suffer for it and we will deserve it. And now he's on Team Trump, so...
Yes, and I'm in the GOP for whatever it is. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Trump Corporation now. So this J.D. Vance guy, who likes attention, because he came out of nowhere. I mean, he was not a politician 3-4 years ago, and all of a sudden he's VP. So, as the song in Evita goes, the greatest social climber since Cinderella. The JD's got potential. But if you're willing to change all of your values wholesale to get public profile and start kissing Trump ass the way he's been kissing it, do you think really that this is a relationship that's going to last? JD seems to like the spotlight a little too much for this to work with Donald Trump. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, a guy that can do all of that, flip him entirely who he is in order to get this amount of status, to get this amount of power. Donnie, watch your freaking back.
Yeah,
he's coming for your job.
He'll climb over your body.
He is coming for your job. Do not trust that. I'm not one to give advice to Donald Trump, but J.D. Vance, I am pretty darn sure, did not sign up to be the next Hang Mike Pence. And he's if he can climb that fast in that short of time by adopting your playbook, because it was Donald Trump, I believe, who said something that if he was going to run for politics before he did, like several years before he did, he would run as a Republican because he believed that Republicans would stupid and would buy anything.
He never actually said that.
He never actually said that? Okay.
No. He said he was, that was the rumor, was that he said if he was going to run for president, he would run for the Republican Party because you can sell anything to Republicans. And that's a quote attributed to him, but he never actually said it.
Okay. Well, J.D. Vance acted like it was how to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you've seen this clip of J.D. Vance. This is just recent, and this gives you a good idea of exactly who he is.
And this is one of the great tricks that I think pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy, and so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. And maybe it worked out for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids in those marriages, and I think that's what all of us and this is one of the great tricks.
God, this guy. So be prepared for not the best of stuff to be coming. Now, here in Canada, well, all around the world, of course, we had the condemnation from various leaders. Before we do that, when we're talking about J.D. Vance, some people were thinking that Donald Trump might pull a bait and switch because he got us all talking about J.D. Vance and Doug Burgum and somebody else, and that he would maybe at the last minute throw us a Nikki Haley or someone from out of the circle.
Mm-hmm.
These three guys who tried so very hard to become Donald Trump's vice president. One of them, Tim Scott, one of them, Vivek Ramaswamy, and the other guy, I don't even know who the frick he is. To be totally honest, I'll never watch the first season of The Apprentice. He was never going to pick Kwame. Y'all can't be vice president. You're not white.
I mean, he's still pissed that Obama was president.
Have you been following Donald Trump? All of you just embarrassed yourself for months, especially Tim Scott. He had no chance at all.
Mm-hmm.
No chance at all. people. Marco Rubio is another one who was waiting. The final three apparently were Marco Rubio. Well, again, you're not white and you're also from Florida, so one of you is going to have to move because the president and vice president can't be from the same state.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not going to be him. I guess Doug Burnham acts more like the Mike Pence, like literally described as the most boring man in America. But all in on zero abortions for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But Donald Trump likes from central casting and he likes stars and celebrities. So this time he went and got himself a celebrity because he doesn't really need to secure the evangelicals anymore. This is his second term, right? He's already got them. So going for a little glitz and glamour. But like I said, 2 divas, 1 room. 2 divas, 1 mirror.
Interesting.
I have a feeling there's
article here in Forbes. Will surviving gunfire be Donald Trump's next appeal to black voters?
Oh yes, already. He's already doing it. Yes, black voters will love me because I've been railroaded by the justice system too. Has now been termed out. Black people will love me because, well, they're used to getting shot at too.
Oh boy.
Oh yes, that's already started. In the circles. Oh yeah. It's not pretty. International condemnation, of course, came, and the best take on this one, I think, Mr. Grizzly, is I like to say our friend Lisa, but we've never actually talked to her yet. Oh, I'd already sent you the clip. If you could put that down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a second.
It's we've already talked about Pierre. Why not? Prime Minister had a statement, and then there were other people as well.
Let me just cue this right up here.
I'm not going to debate whether what happened, how it happened. I'm sure the validity will find itself out. But I do want to focus on the response to what's happened. No, not from Joe Public, but from various leaders. Now I just picked a couple. Justin, succinct, to the point, speaks about political violence being absolutely unacceptable. Emmanuel Macron took time to mention the spectator that passed, because even though the intended target seemed fine, someone still lost their life. Again, quite succinct. 9.2 out of 10. Anthony Albanese. Again, he spoke about no place for violence. I'm gonna give him a 9.7 because he's said former President Trump. Keir Starmer. Once again, political violence has no place in our society. Again, mentions the victims. 9.4 out of 10. Vladimir Zelensky. Never should violence prevail. It's a little long-winded, but he's going through a lot. 8.7. Giorgia Meloni. Again, spoke about the no violence. I had it translated from Italian to English. And this one's a fucking fascist. Let's get closer to home, shall we? Danielle Smith. She's actually gonna get a lot of points because she said former president and she mentions political violence. I'm gonna take off points only because she also contributes to that political violence. 9.2. And now we get to the star of the show. The absolute piece of trash in our political schemata who thought it was appropriate to write this down and hit send. Or somebody on his team did. No mention of political violence being unacceptable, but went so far as to write the last line. I am also happy that the suspected shooter, suspected at the time of print, is that this is what our wannabe prime minister decided to put out into the world. When actual world leaders, aside from one, condemns political violence. I also want to point out that he writes democracy must prevail. The same donkey that walked alongside people that wanted to overthrow a democratically elected government. The same leader that has never spoken out against those flags or wishes of harm against our prime minister by the people that he walks alongside of, shakes hands with, hangs out with them in trailers on the sides of highways. You're the problem, because it's fine to have differences of political opinion, but you are the lead contributor of political violence in Canada. I mean, Maxime Bernier's post was no better, but he's sort of inconsequential. Because see, the thing is, It could really happen to any politician. And because of that, you need to be aware of the game that you're playing. Now, in Canada, we don't have as many pew-pews hanging around. And like I said, I'm not going to debate the validity of what happened. But when you have political leaders, some contentious political leaders, Maloney's a far-right fascist from a country that knows fascism. And even she's like, no, we don't support hatred and violence. But this twerp does. Unacceptable. Not surprising, but unacceptable. I can't even grade this one. Participation trophy. Just ew.
Yep.
So we had the Prime Minister's statement. We had the Leader of the Opposition statement. For his part, the New Democratic leader, Jagmeet Singh, echoed the sentiments. There's no room for violence at any political event. We must all stand united against political violence wherever it happens. My thoughts are with former President Trump and his family, as well as all the other victims of the shooting. In Canada, of course, the Prime Minister took some time to give a call to Mr. Trump and check in on him to see if he was okay. Even though Mr. Trump isn't the current president of the United States, given that they were both leaders of nations at the same time, it is still customary to take time out to do those types of things. So the Prime Minister did do his duty with regard to that. Very important to note. It seems that members of Canadian the security apparatus have been taking this very seriously as well, and making sure that they make whatever adjustments they need to make as a result of this. I believe that Pierre Poilievre had asked for more security and got it. With regard to that type of stuff. So, it's important. And the RCMP also confirmed that it's in contact with its U.S. counterparts. Of course, Canada is not immune to political violence, right? 2014, we had a shooting on Parliament Hill. So Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc said, if you want to change the government, you participate in an election, you go to vote, you don't engage in acts of political violence. We also had the incident in 2020 where an Army reservist crashed a truck loaded with weapons into the gates of Rideau Hall looking for the Prime Minister. In 2012, there was an attempted assassination of PQ leader Pauline Marois. Remember that? And most infamously in Canada's history, there was the FLQ crisis way back when.
1970.
Yes. Harassment of MPs, both online and in person, according to the House of Commons Sergeant of Arms, has spiked almost 800% between 2019 and 2003. When his office was opened, the number of threat files have gone from 8 in 2019 to 530 in 2023. So that's what our actual politicians are experiencing. Right. Jagmeet Singh mentioned, because he had that incident in Peterborough. I don't think any political leader who's been in public spaces has ever ignored that voice in their head that said, hey, what might happen? Could something bad happen here? So Singh says it's time to turn down the temperature. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith agrees that it's time to turn down the temperature. But when she said it, she described how, she talked about...
She singled out.
Yes. She said, the headlines about how Pierre Poilievre was described as dangerous, how the leader of the opposition Alberta has described me as dangerous. When you start using that kind of rhetoric, that ends up creating an elevated risk for all of us. Of course, Smith herself has called the federal environmental minister a radical and a zealot, once told former Fox News personality Tucker Carlson that she wished she would put the minister in his crosshairs.
Yeah, she's done the same thing, so she can shut all the way up.
Now, here's the thing. When this kind of situation comes up, the statesman-like thing to do is to say that all of us should be toning down the rhetoric or whatnot. So when you turn around and you say, when you come out in a statement like this and say, we need to tone down the rhetoric, and while you're doing it, you're attributing responsibility for the heavy rhetoric on everyone but yourself, you're actually fueling the rhetoric, as you're claiming you're not. I'm not here to fuel the rhetoric. We should all tone it down. I've been attacked so much, and our side has been attacked by the left so much. The left really needs to tone it down. If the discourse isn't we all should tone it down, if you're placing yourself in the victim role, if you're attributing motive and responsibility in this type of statement, you're not there to be helpful.
No, not at all.
You're not there to be helpful. He fails. He fails completely on that. Now, it seems that if we're talking about the political moment, Trump has much better handlers this time than last time, because last time it was let Trump be Trump. Apparently has some professional handlers. So after the debate, for example, we didn't hear about him for a while. Because his enemy was imploding. You would expect normal Trump to run that and not stop talking about it for the next 10 days and spiking the ball all over. And I were off the floor. He hasn't said anything. He's been letting Biden go out and do all these things. I think within like the first 2 or 3 days or 4 days after the first week within the debate, he had made 18 different appearances in 8 different cities. Okay. This man is 80 something years old. I once in my life had a situation in which I think I made 18 appearances in 3 different cities over the course of like 7 months, and I was pooped, exhausted, and I was in my 30s. He's done this all in 1 week. It's like, where's Biden? You got to do more. You got to do more. And Trump, meanwhile, was like hiding. Just so he let an enemy was imploding, and rather than trying to help, he said nothing and let it happen, which is the smart PR strategy. You're saying. So it seems that over here, word on the tweet is that he had a speech all prepared for the convention, and that speech was supposed to be, pretty much, to relentlessly go after Biden, just bonus venom in the siege, given the stage and the event. And he says that Trump himself says in an interview that he threw it away. He says that the events have changed him, and he will be giving a speech on unity. Again, politically, super savvy, because he's already got all the haters, right? What he's not been able to do is convert moderates and independents. Well, he's got the biggest story in the world going on the biggest stage, and everybody's waiting to see what he's going to officially say for the first time when he gets in front of a mic. And well, so he's going to have to try to put himself as a sympathetic figure if he's going to score some points, and that's a little bit of an uphill climb to people who don't already love him. So the rumor is, another bit of rumor is that it so affected him to the point that he is going to eliminate all inflammatory rhetoric from his speeches. I have a hard time believing that he has that impulse control to completely switch his personality from now until November and just simply be the loving, rallying, we're all Americans, we're all on the same team.
Come on.
I don't see it. He does have a remarkable discipline, though, for not saying anything bad about Putin ever. So he has the discipline.
You noticed that, did you?
So he has the discipline. He just chooses not to use it many times. So he could do this if he wants to, because if he can avoid saying bad things about Putin, he can certainly avoid saying bad things about Joe Biden. That's a way easier task. There's a whole lot less to not like about Joe Biden than Putin, objectively speaking. So, but yeah. Now, of course, one of my favorite expressions is I'll believe it when it lasts, because this is the type of thing where he might do that one speech that one day, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, look how he's moderated! Look how like this." And then 2 days later he goes back to doing the old same stuff. But like 4 months later, we're still, but look at that speech he did but he didn't maintain it.
Yeah. Leopard can't change his spots.
Right. So that's what
It's
we'll
as
be
simple as
watching.
that.
But so here's the thing. So is he gonna zig? Is he gonna be all peace and love and, well, as lollipops glitter rainbows as Donald Trump can possibly get? Or whatever that version of is. He said as he shuddered and shivered. I just can't imagine what the Donald Trump version of Kumbaya is. Sorry. But apparently he is fine. He is in good spirits. So the savior messiah type thing, we can put that to bed. There's a lot of conventional wisdom. A lot of people said as soon as that happened, well, Donald Trump just won the next election. In normal times, maybe. But given that this is so polarized that even the debate didn't really change those numbers, and that was the type of debate that would normally sink someone, I don't actually think on the Trump side, this might motivate a couple of people that were going to choose the couch to come up and fight for their man. Because now they literally have. I mean, Donald Trump has been on the record before saying that when they came to inspect all my documents at Mar-a-Lago, they said they had an order to kill me. I mean, he's already gone down that path, right? So this can feed into that, right, and all these narratives. So, but it'll be interesting to see how he decides to do that. Because he didn't spike the ball on the debate, and I know that he likes the adulation. He likes the framing as the hero and the fighter, and all of this is like a gift for him to be able to frame himself in that light. But don't forget, all of this is also a gift for Biden to be able to frame himself in the light as a statesman. If Biden makes some time to reach out to the family, if Biden is more credible unifier, because I mean, being the unifier is, the nation's dad is kind of Biden's wheelhouse. Here. So if Biden can be more sympathetic and more statesman, right, there is an opportunity for Team Biden. It's not just all Trump here, especially if Trump decides that he's going to make a change, said that this changed me, and then can't maintain that change.
Biden is already a loving grandfather. Trump only loves Trump and nobody else. Nobody else. And even, does he love himself? I don't know. Honestly, I don't think he does. He's a total narcissist. We've seen this behavior time and time again. So will this change him? Maybe for 48 hours. Let's see what he does next Saturday.
Right.
Let's see what he does as his next rally. Because he's going to have another rally. You know that.
Yep. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. Mr. Grizzly, I think we have a show.
Yes, sir. And I need to go take a nap.
Sorry I didn't have much more Canada for you today, but this kind of clearly has
It's
to
a big
pick
news.
up all the
Big news story.
It's a big news story. I mean, it's been about 40 years since there was an attempt. I think the last one was Ronald Reagan on a presidential candidate.
81?
Yeah, on a presidential candidate, because there was still the Gabby Giffords thing which happened, which was absolutely horrendous.
Yes.
So yeah, so kits and cubs, a bit of a heavier show. Hopefully we stayed more to the facts, a little less speculation, even though we talked about the speculation that was out there, but hopefully to sort of give you a roadmap to what it was and not necessarily speculate ourselves. This does affect Canada. It does.
Like it or not, it affects us. And the concern here is, as we've heard from Project 2025, our Agenda 2025, is it Project or
Project 2025. And like I said, Project 2025 is sort of like off the radar at the moment. So is Joe Biden is so old, sort of off the radar. Don't be fooled. These things are still running in the background.
Well, you remember what the guy from Project 2025 said was, it's going to be a civil war. It'll be bloodless if the left allows it. Right. I'm like, what?
Just lay back and take it.
What?
Just lie back and take it.
That's really disturbing. So yeah, there's lots going on, and that will affect us because it tends to spill over here, and hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't, but time will remain.
Yeah.
Time will tell. That's just as simple as it is. Time will tell. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the future holds from one day to the next, and hopefully things get calm and cooler heads prevail. But time will tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. If you would like to support us, you can, thanks to the Ray Girl who has sponsored our pod page. Podpage.com/TheTrueNorthEagerBeaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words is where you go to, or you scan the QR code that just appeared. And if you click subscribe there, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. If you would like to support us in other ways, why not make like Kit Elaine and take a little trip on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where we have 3 buttons for you: like, share, subscribe. Just ask Kit Cassie. She licks the buttons. Just saying. The cowboy kind of likes it. And by the way, happy anniversary, dear ones, you crazy kids. I love. It was a wonderful time. And since we're saying things, happy belated birthday, Jazzy. Keep on saying it online, but I keep on forgetting to mention it on the show. But happy belated birthday. I hope it was wonderful. And a little love to Kit Mr. Jim, who had a bit of a surgery the other day. Is doing well. Doing well. But, taking it easy, being kind to and gentle with himself. All right. So we did the pod page, we did the YouTube page, and if you would like to help us in another way, the QR code by Mr. Grizzly's head brings you to our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters. And that's where you find the emergency hydration fund. So if you would like to encourage us to do more because you like our show, or you like us, or you feel sorry for us, we take pity money. We do. We're not proud. Drop a little bit of coinage over there, and you will earn our undying gratitude, which actually has pretty good value. You can get like a whole can of spray foam at Canadian Tire for it. You can. It's a thing. All right. Because democracy is something that you do, please do pay attention to what's going on if you are living in British Columbia, where the polls are tightening again, Saskatchewan or New Brunswick, as you have elections coming up. There are also some by-elections coming up soon. I believe, I forgot where the one we were talking about yesterday, on yesterday's show was. I'm so sorry. But there are some by-elections coming up as well. So please keep your ear to the ground for that. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your eager beaver saying it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Yeah. Try and breathe through this one, folks, because I know that a lot of people are heavily affected by it. The conspiracy theories flying about everywhere, making people a little paranoid, I think, right now, wondering if this was organized by the party, if they did this intentionally. We don't know. And please, I'm asking you, try not to dwell on thoughts like that, because it will twist your noodle up, and nobody needs that. So yeah, just breathe through this and carry on with your day, and remember to check in with those that you love.
All right. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock, and we'll be coming back with a larger than usual Easter egg.
Okay.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster. Hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, Kits and Cubs. Kit Cassie mentioned that it was the 29th anniversary, so hey, let's go for at least 29 more. All right. She mentions also that there's a by-election in her municipal ward today. If you can mention which one it is, Cassie, I'll mention it before we come out. Toronto Dan mentioned also November 4th and Ward 15 in Toronto. There's a by-election there. We lost 3 people over the past few days that are well known. Actress Shannon Doherty died at the age of...
What?
Shannon Doherty, yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah, passed away at the age of 53. She had a long and public battle with breast cancer. She had been in remission, but it came back as an aggressive stage 4 cancer. She is the star, of course, of Beverly Hills 90210, and then again of Charmed, which were 2 very, very big series. A lot of Dylan and Brenda love tweets over the past couple of days for that. Richard Simmons also passed away, giant of the world of fitness. He was born Milton Teagle Simmons in New Orleans, but changed his name and moved to LA, where he caught the exercise bug and opened a gym called the Anatomy Asylum. He had a trademark exuberant positive attitude. There's some clips from an appearance he had on Whose Line Is This Anyway, which is a lot of people are saying like one of about the 6th funniest minutes ever in TV history. It is very, very, very funny. I laughed my tail off. I believe I stumbled upon it thanks to Kit Saucy, who had put it on her Twitter feed. But yes, he became very famous by doing videotapes, workout tapes such as Sweating to the Oldies or Party Off the Pounds. So even though he was very much in the public eye later in life, he did walk away from it and passed away at 76 years old. Family posted onto his Twitter feed saying that Richard would be very, 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 very happy and touched by all the love. And then pop culture icon Dr. Ruth Westheimer, world-renowned sex therapist, has passed away at the age of 96. She was known for her inviting presence, and which made her call-in show, the Dr. Ruth Show, a really big hit in the 80s, a bit like Sue Johansson here was very famous for similar reasons. She had a frank and humorous approach to human sexuality that captivated audiences. She's quoted as saying, "What's the best gift you can give your partner? A massage. It feels good. You touch them, it's warm on his body, and you touch the body and the soul. And the best part of it is that it doesn't cost a cent." Her life did begin in tragedy. She was a Jewish refugee, orphaned in the Holocaust. She had lost her entire family during World War II. Settled in New York, and had an attitude of you can't control what life is going to throw your way. And so that made people love her perspective. She's quoted as saying, "I did not know that I would become a sex therapist, but I'm not complaining about it. I like it. I like that people still at the age of 87 are listening to me and asking me their questions." Another thing that she was famous for was for her pushing the concept of joie de vivre. She always mentioned it. She had a TED Talk, not a TED Talk, sorry, in her TED Talk titled Life and Joie de Vivre. And then she also said about music that that was the golden thread running through her life, and she particularly loved French icon Edith Piaf. So she died Friday at her home, surrounded by family. Shannon Doherty, Dr. Ruth, and Richard Simmons also did absolutely wonderful things for the gay community. All of them wonderful, wonderful, beautiful allies. So they will be missed. At Wimbledon, Carlos Alcaraz won the men's final, defeating Djokovic. Barbara Krejcikova won the women's final, defeating Jasmine Paolini. There's great stories in men's doubles that I'll talk about later on another point, in mixed doubles. But in women's doubles, Gabriela Dabrowski did make it to the final. However, they were outmatched by Katerina Siniakova from Czechia and Taylor Townsend. Katerina Siniakova, I think it was her 9th Grand Slam doubles final. And in her first. But a good match. Both was won in straight sets, but both of them went into tiebreakers. But with that, Aaron Routliffe and Gabriela Dabrowski become the number 1 and number 2 doubles players in the world. So again, looking good going into the Olympics. By the way, bon voyage to our friend Devin, who has apparently landed safe and sound in Paris, left last night. And finally, 2 more things. At the Copa America, Canada ended up in 4th place, losing the bronze medal match. Very exciting match on penalty kicks. No shame in the game, nothing to be ashamed of. Absolute great performance from Team Canada. Hopefully a sign of lots of good things to come. And finally, in Canadians who make us proud, and this one's totally self-serving, my Beaver sweetie.
Oh, yes.
Who finally got word from the Journal of Hydrometallurgy, the journal he most wanted to be in for this, and that he almost gave up on, because it's been a long time coming, has sent him a message saying, congratulations, your manuscript has been accepted for publication, which means that soon, hopefully, I will be able to have him as a guest on our show.
To discuss,
Interview
yes.
to discuss what it is. Now, I'm not sure when it is I'll be able to do that because it has to be published, and I think he'll probably want to present it officially at a scientific conference before doing media. So he would still have to get applied and go there. So we're probably still a few months away, but we are one step closer. Oh yes, 4 people. Shelley Duvall. I had forgotten. Thank you. Yes, Kit Elaine. Shelley Duvall also. Really, 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 really stunning actress. Known probably most popularly from The Shining and also Popeye, but was a versatile actress. Did a lot of stuff that was well noted, but also a bit of a recluse. And left the industry for a good while. Came back not too long ago and made one movie recently. But I'm thinking that acting was based on stories that I've heard from The Shining, that acting was a very, very, very emotional experience for her and maybe a little unsettling. I've heard that a couple of times. That Bjork had done a movie with Lars von Trier a couple of many, many years ago, and she said the same thing. She'd find it hard to do another movie because apparently that broke her, all the places she had to go. So there we go. All right. Longer than normal Easter egg, but lots of good news. Thank you for all your cheers for my Beaver sweetie. And like I said, I'm hoping to bring you his research because it really is fascinating and he's so charming. Yes, of course, I'm biased. All right. Have a Beaver-perfect day, everyone. And thank you for your patience, Mr. Grizzly. I know you've been tired.
I'll see you later.